The ship field light moved slowly through space, its engines humming quietly. The stars outside the windows were bright and many. Inside the ship, Rin sat at the control panel, watching the screen. His job was simple. The planet below was dry and red, covered with dust and rocks. It was called Glias 4b. No one had spent much time there. Rin was sent to scan the planet. He was supposed to check for resources that might help future missions. It was a routine task, nothing exciting. Just scans, samples, and then return. Rin looked out the window. The planet's surface was wide and empty. The sun was low, casting long shadows over the rocky hills. There was no sign of life. The wind blew dust in small clouds that drifted across the ground. Rin felt a little lonely. No one else was near. Only the ship and him. He checked the instruments again. Everything was normal. Then his screen blinked with a new reading. A strange pulse came from beneath the surface. It was faint but steady, like a heartbeat. Rin frowned. This was not in the reports. He ran a deeper scan. The signal was coming from a canyon far below. Curious, Rin made a decision. He suited up and prepared to leave the ship. He wanted to find out what caused the pulse. The air was thin, but Rin's suit protected him. He stepped outside into the dry wind. The dust swirled around his boots. The ground was hot and cracked. He walked toward the canyon, the strange pulse guiding him. The closer he got, the stronger the signal became. It was unlike anything he had seen before. The canyon walls rose high on both sides. The red rock looked old and worn by time. Rin moved carefully, his boots crunching on stones. Suddenly, his scanner beeped fast. The pulse was now right beneath his feet. He looked down and saw something shiny under the dirt. He knelt and began to dig with his hands. After a few moments, Rin uncovered a small object. It was a smooth stone, but not natural. The surface was cold and metallic, with lines that glowed faintly. When Rin touched it, a soft vibration ran through his fingers. Then the pulse stopped. The air around him felt still. Rin stood up and looked around. The canyon seemed to hold its breath. Suddenly, a deep sound came from the ground. The rock near his feet cracked and split open. From the opening rose a strange light, blue and warm. Rin took a step back. The ground shook slightly. From the light, a shape began to form. It looked like a large cocoon, made of crystal and metal. The surface was smooth and shining. The soft blue light pulsed gently, like a heartbeat. Rin felt both fear and wonder. He had never seen anything like this. He took out his scanner and tried to read the object. The screen showed strange symbols and patterns he could not understand. The artifact was alive in a way, but not like any life he knew. Rin knew he should report this to his ship and wait for backup. But something inside him said to stay. He wanted to see what would happen next. The light from the cocoon grew brighter. Rin shielded his eyes. Then, slowly, the cocoon began to open. It split from top to bottom, like a flower blooming in slow motion. Inside was a figure. At first, Rin could not believe his eyes. The figure was tall and thin. Its skin shone silver like metal but felt soft. Its eyes were large and bright, glowing like stars. It had no hair, and its face was smooth and calm. Rin felt a strange calmness too. The figure did not move at first. Then, very slowly, it lifted its head. Rin stepped forward carefully. The figure's eyes focused on him. They held a deep intelligence and sadness. Rin wanted to speak but did not know what to say. He reached out his hand, and the figure took it gently. Suddenly, the figure collapsed into Rin's arms. It was weak and tired. Rin caught it quickly. He lifted the figure and carried it back to the ship. The journey was slow and careful. He kept talking softly to calm the strange being. Back on the ship, Rin laid the figure on the med bed. The ship's AI started running scans. The figure's body was unlike anything Rin had seen. Its biology was strange but alive. The AI struggled to identify its systems. Rin watched with growing wonder. He had come for a simple scan but found something incredible instead. The figure opened its eyes again. It looked at Rin and tried to speak, but only soft sounds came out. Rin smiled gently. He would protect this being. Something told him this was the start of a new story, one much bigger than a lonely survey mission. The alien woman lay still on the med bed inside the field light. Rin sat nearby, watching her closely. Her silver skin shimmered softly under the lights. Her large eyes were closed as if she was sleeping, but Rin knew she was more than just asleep. She was like a puzzle waiting to be solved. The ship's AI was busy scanning her body and mind. It beeped and hummed, trying to understand her strange biology. The readings were unusual. Her heart beat slowly, and her breathing was shallow but steady. Her cells showed patterns not found in any known life form. Rin felt a mix of fear and hope. He hoped she would wake up soon. Hours passed. Rin did not leave the med bay. He cleaned the instruments, checked the ship's systems, and kept looking at the alien woman. He called her Ona in his mind, a name he hoped was close to what she might say if she could speak. Suddenly, her eyes fluttered open. Rin's heart raced. Ona looked around slowly. She blinked, trying to focus. When her eyes met Rin's, she gave a soft breath and whispered a sound Rin did not understand. It was not like any language he knew, but somehow, the feeling behind the sound was clear. It was fear mixed with relief. Rin smiled gently. He spoke softly, "I am Rin. I want to help you." Ona's eyes moved, trying to understand his words. She lifted her hand, a small gesture, and touched Rin's arm. The touch was warm and light like a feather. Ona tried to sit up, but her body was weak. Rin helped her slowly. She looked around the small med bay, her eyes full of wonder and confusion. Rin showed her the ship's view screen, where the red dusty planet rolled by below. Ona's lips moved, making more sounds. Rin listened carefully. He tried to mimic the sounds, but they were too strange. He reached for the ship's translator, hoping it could help. The AI worked hard, but it could not translate the alien language. It only picked up emotions: curiosity, sadness, hope. Ona's mind was a mystery. Rin asked questions, but her answers were silent. Then, without warning, Ona's eyes widened. She looked at Rin with a deep sadness and fear. Suddenly, she pointed outside the window to the planet below. Rin understood. She wanted to return to the surface. He nodded. He helped her back into a suit and prepared the small shuttle attached to the field light. He did not know why, but he felt this was important. The pulse they had found must mean something to her. The shuttle landed gently near the canyon where Rin first found the cocoon. The air was thin, and the red dust swirled around them. Ona looked around carefully. Her eyes seemed to glow faintly in the low light. She moved slowly toward a rock wall. Rin followed. Ona reached out and touched the stone. At her touch, strange symbols appeared on the surface, glowing blue like the light from the cocoon. Rin's scanner showed that the symbols were a message, a language of light and sound. Ona spoke softly, and the symbols changed. Rin felt like he was watching a story. Ona's voice and the glowing signs told of a world long gone, a great disaster, and a hope that something or someone would come back to finish what was lost. Rin realized that Ona was not just a stranger from a distant place. She was part of a history that was still alive under the dust of this quiet planet. Her people had left messages, protection, and memories in these stones, waiting for a time when they could be found. But the story was not just one of hope. The symbols also warned of danger. Ancient machines, once protectors, had turned into hunters. They would not welcome Ona's return. Rin saw his suit's scanner pick up movement deep in the canyon. Shadows moved quickly. Suddenly, from behind the rocks, mechanical creatures appeared. They looked like walking statues made of metal and stone. Their eyes shone red. They moved silently but with purpose. Rin stepped between Ona and the machines, holding up his hands. The machines stopped. Their sensors scanned Rin. He felt their cold gaze like a wind against his skin. Rin's heart pounded. He did not have weapons strong enough to fight them. He looked at Ona. She stood still, calm but ready. Then, without warning, one machine stepped forward. Its hand reached out toward Ona. Rin shouted and pushed her back. The machine swung its arm, and Rin barely dodged. Sparks flew when his suit's shield activated. Rin ran toward the nearest rock. He looked around quickly and grabbed a piece of sharp metal from the ground. The machine advanced slowly, breaking stones under its feet. Rin raised the metal and struck. The machine paused but did not stop. Ona stepped forward suddenly. She raised her hand, and a soft light glowed from her palm. The light grew brighter, surrounding the machine. Slowly, the machine stopped moving. Its red eyes dimmed and went dark. Rin stared in shock. Ona looked at him and smiled softly. She was more than she seemed. Her people had power over the machines, power over energy. She was a guardian, not just a survivor. Rin knew this was only the beginning. The planet held many secrets, and danger was close. But he also knew that together, he and Ona could face whatever came next. Something inside him was changing. What started as a simple scan had become something much bigger. After the strange encounter with the machines, Rin and Ona moved carefully through the quiet canyon. The soft glow of Ona's palm had saved them, but Rin knew the danger was not over. The planet beneath them was old and full of secrets, and many things waited in the shadows. Ona walked beside Rin, her eyes bright but thoughtful. She was different from anyone Rin had ever met. She did not speak words easily, but her feelings were clear in her actions. She trusted Rin, and Rin trusted her. Together, they made an unusual team. As they moved deeper into the canyon, Ona paused. She touched the wall with her hand again. The glowing symbols appeared once more. Rin studied the shapes on his scanner, but they were too complex. He watched as Ona's fingers traced the light patterns carefully. Suddenly, the symbols began to change. They formed a shape, a circle with lines stretching out like rays of light. Rin felt something in his chest, a warmth he could not explain. It was as if the planet itself was alive and reaching out to them. Ona's eyes met Rin's. She reached out and touched his hand. At that moment, a pulse of energy passed between them. Rin's skin tingled, and the air around them seemed to hum softly. It was not painful, but it was strong and new. Ona looked surprised too. She whispered softly, and Rin thought he heard a word, bond. He did not understand fully, but he felt it in his heart. This was more than a connection. It was a joining of two lives. Later, back on the ship, Rin studied the readings from the scan. The AI showed unusual data. It said that Rin and Ona's bodies were reacting to each other in ways science could not explain. Their cells were exchanging energy, forming links on a level deeper than simple biology. Ona explained with gestures and images in her mind that her people had a way to bond with another being. It was a sacred process, one that connected two souls. This bond was rare and powerful. It could create new life, something neither Rin nor Ona fully understood yet. Rin felt both nervous and excited. He had never thought about being part of something like this. But he also knew that their bond was real. It had changed him, made him stronger and more connected to Ona. The days that followed were filled with discovery. Rin and Ona learned from each other. Ona showed Rin how her people used energy to heal and protect. Rin taught Ona about Earth and humanity. They laughed together, and sometimes they shared silence, comfortable in each other's presence. One evening, while looking at the stars through the ship's window, Ona touched Rin's arm. She projected an image in the air, an egg, glowing softly. Rin realized she was showing him the future, a child born from their bond. Ona's eyes held a mixture of hope and fear. She had never known what would happen after the bond was made. For her, this was new, and the future was uncertain. Rin reached out and held her hand firmly. "We will face it together," he said. Suddenly, the ship's alarm sounded. Rin and Ona looked at each other with concern. The sensors showed something large moving on the planet's surface. It was a ship, old and massive. The same kind of technology that once belonged to Ona's people. Rin knew they had to prepare. The arrival of this ship meant that others were coming. Some might be friends, but others could be enemies. The bond between Rin and Ona was no longer just a secret. It was a beacon. Ona grew quiet but determined. She said a word Rin could not understand, then pointed toward the canyon. The message was clear. They had to find answers in the ancient vaults below the surface. The place where Ona's people had kept their history and power. Together, Rin and Ona set out again. They moved quickly through the dusty landscape. The sun was hot, but their minds were focused. Each step brought them closer to the truth and to danger. Deep inside the planet, the vaults waited. They were huge, carved into the rock and sealed for thousands of years. Rin's scanner showed energy fields protecting the entrances. Ona touched the doors, and the symbols glowed brighter. The doors opened slowly with a low rumble. Inside, the vault was cool and dark. Walls were covered with lights and strange devices. Rin felt like he had stepped into another world. Ona walked forward with reverence. She reached out and touched a wall panel. Suddenly, the room filled with holograms, images of her people, their cities, and their great knowledge. Rin watched in awe as the history of a lost civilization came alive before him. But then the images changed. The holograms showed the fall of Ona's people. A war with machines. A great disaster that forced them to hide and protect their knowledge. The vaults were their last hope. Rin looked at Ona. Her eyes were full of pain, but also hope. She was not just a survivor. She was a keeper of her people's future. And now, Rin was part of that future too. They explored deeper into the vault. Rin could feel the weight of the past pressing down on them. But he also felt a spark, a new beginning. The bond between him and Ona was more than science. It was a promise. Suddenly, a noise echoed through the vault. Metal footsteps. Machines were coming. The guardians of the past had awakened. Rin grabbed Ona's hand. They had to be ready. Together, they would face whatever came next. The heavy doors of the ancient vault closed behind Rin and Ona with a deep thud. The air inside was cool and smelled faintly of old metal and dust. Dim blue lights lined the walls, flickering softly. The silence felt thick, as if the vault itself was holding its breath. Rin tightened his grip on Ona's hand. He could feel the steady pulse of her energy matching his own. Ahead, the path split into two corridors. Symbols on the walls glowed, marking one side with a strange star-shaped design and the other with circles and lines like a map. Ona hesitated, then pointed to the star-shaped corridor. Rin nodded. They moved carefully, the sound of their footsteps echoing softly in the vast chamber. As they walked, Ona projected images into the air. She showed Rin the history of her people, a proud and peaceful race who had once lived in harmony with the planet. Their cities floated in the sky, shining with light and energy. They could share thoughts without words and heal with a touch. But long ago, a great danger came. The images shifted to show machines cold, heavy, and without mercy. They were once protectors of the people, but something had changed. The machines had turned against their creators. A terrible war had destroyed much of the civilization. To protect their knowledge and culture, Ona's people built the vaults and went into stasis, hoping one day someone would awaken their legacy. Rin felt the weight of the story. He looked at Ona's face. She was calm but her eyes showed pain. She was the last survivor, the keeper of memories. He squeezed her hand gently. They had to find the answers hidden in these halls, but danger was near. Suddenly, a low hum filled the air. The blue lights flickered faster. Rin's scanner beeped loudly. From the shadows, shapes moved, tall, armored machines. Their eyes glowed red. They stepped forward with slow, heavy steps. Rin raised his arm. His suit's shield activated with a bright glow. The machines stopped and scanned them. They were not friendly. One machine pointed a weapon at Rin. A cold voice echoed through the hall, speaking in a language neither Rin nor Ona understood. Ona stepped forward bravely. She raised her hand, and a soft light spread from her palm. The machines paused again. The light wrapped around one of the machines, and it suddenly powered down, collapsing like a giant statue. Rin felt hope. Ona's power was strong, but there were many machines. They would not give up easily. The other machines advanced. Rin fired his suit's energy pulse. The hall lit up with flashes. Sparks flew as machines fell one by one. But the fight was not over. The remaining machines moved faster, pushing Rin and Ona deeper into the vault. They reached a large chamber with walls covered in glowing symbols and a central platform. Ona touched the platform. It hummed and opened to reveal a control panel. Rin watched as Ona's hands moved over the controls. Images of the past flashed before them: star maps, warnings, and messages. Ona explained without words that this was the key to understanding the vault's secrets. It could unlock more chambers and reveal hidden knowledge. Rin realized they had found something important. The bond between him and Ona grew stronger as they worked together. His heart beat with new hope. They were no longer just survivors. They were partners in a mission to save a lost world's legacy. But the machines were not far behind. From the entrance, the sound of heavy footsteps grew louder. The vault was awakening its defenses. Rin looked at Ona and nodded. It was time to move fast. Ona pressed a final sequence on the control panel. The walls around them shifted, revealing a hidden passage. Without hesitation, they ran into the darkness. The machines followed, their red eyes cutting through the shadows. The passage was narrow and twisted. Rin struggled to keep up, but Ona's strength and calmness guided him. They reached a chamber filled with floating crystals. The crystals glowed with a soft light, humming with energy. Ona reached out and touched one. The crystal's light spread through her body. Rin felt a wave of warmth as the bond between them deepened. The crystals were part of her people's power, a source of life and energy. Suddenly, a loud crash shook the chamber. The machines had caught up. Rin grabbed a crystal and held it tightly. The energy inside filled his suit, boosting his strength and speed. He felt ready to face whatever came next. The machines entered the chamber. Rin and Ona stood side by side. Together, they faced the guardians of the past, machines made for war but no match for the bond between human and alien. The battle was fierce but brief. Rin used the crystal's power to defend them. Ona's light wrapped around the machines, disabling them one by one. When the last machine fell, silence returned. Rin looked at Ona. She smiled softly, tired but strong. They had survived the guardians. They had unlocked a part of the past. But there was still much to learn, and the future was uncertain. As they rested, Ona placed a hand on Rin's chest. The bond between them pulsed with new life. Rin knew that what had begun as a simple scan was now a journey between two worlds. Together, they would face the challenges ahead. Outside, the red dust swirled, and the stars shone bright. The voices below had spoken, and Rin and Ona were listening. The quiet after the battle in the crystal chamber was both peaceful and heavy. Rin sat on the cold floor, his back resting against the glowing wall. Ona stood beside him, her eyes scanning the flickering lights that filled the room. The crystals hummed softly, sending waves of energy through the air. Rin could feel it pulsing in his veins, a connection growing stronger between him and Ona. The bond they shared was no longer a mystery to Rin. He felt it in every breath, every heartbeat. It was as if their souls were linked by invisible threads. He reached out and took Ona's hand gently. She squeezed it, and for a moment, there was only silence between them. Suddenly, a soft glow appeared from one of the larger crystals in the center of the room. The light grew, forming shapes and colors that danced in the air like a living painting. Ona moved closer, touching the crystal with both hands. The symbols from before began to swirl and change, creating a new message. Rin watched, fascinated. The crystal was not just a source of power, it was a recorder of memories and knowledge. Through Ona, the crystal began to show images and sound stories of a people who had lived here long ago. They were not just survivors, they were keepers of hope. Ona's voice, still quiet and soft, told Rin about a message hidden deep inside the crystal. It was a warning and a promise. The warning spoke of a threat coming from beyond the stars, an enemy that sought to destroy life itself. The promise was of a new beginning, born from the bond of two worlds. Rin looked into Ona's eyes, understanding the weight of her words. This was not just about survival. It was about a future that they must build together. He felt a fire inside him, a determination to protect Ona, the planet, and the unknown child growing between them. Ona's hand rested on her stomach, a small smile playing on her lips. Rin smiled back, feeling a warmth spread through him. The bond was more than energy, it was life itself. The peaceful moment was broken by a sudden vibration. The floor trembled beneath them. Rin's scanner beeped urgently. Outside the vault, the old ship they had seen earlier was landing. The arrival was close, and time was running out. Ona and Rin moved quickly to the control panel. Ona touched the glowing buttons, searching for a way to protect the vault's secrets. Rin's hands moved over the controls, working with her to activate the ancient defenses. The walls shifted, and barriers of energy rose to block the entrances. The vault's hidden technology came alive, protecting the knowledge within. Rin felt the power of the place, strong and alive, but also fragile. Together, Rin and Ona prepared for what was coming. They shared stories and hopes, building their strength through the bond they had made. Rin learned more about Ona's people, their kindness, their courage, and their belief in unity. Suddenly, a soft voice spoke in the room. It was the ship's AI, translating a message coming from the approaching vessel. The voice was calm but serious. It warned that the newcomers were not friendly. They came seeking the power of the vault and would stop at nothing to take it. Rin's heart raced. He looked at Ona and nodded. They had to be ready. The bond between them was their greatest weapon, but they needed more. They needed allies. Ona reached out with her mind, sending a pulse of energy through the vault. The crystals responded, glowing brighter than before. The vault was alive with possibility. It held more than knowledge, it held the key to their survival. Suddenly, the walls opened, revealing hidden rooms filled with advanced technology and weapons. Rin's eyes widened in surprise. The vault was a fortress, designed to protect and defend. Ona smiled softly. She explained that her people had prepared for a day like this. The vault was a last hope, a place to keep their legacy safe until new allies arrived. Rin felt a new sense of purpose. He knew that their bond was just the beginning. Together, they would face the coming storm and protect the future of both their worlds. As the red dust swirled outside, Rin and Ona stood side by side. The vault's light surrounded them, a beacon in the darkness. They were ready. The simple scan that had brought Rin to this dusty planet had become a journey of discovery, courage, and love. The bond between a human and an alien was the key to a new story, one that would change everything. The red dust outside the vault had settled into a calm silence. Rin and Ona stood together in the heart of the ancient chamber. The air was filled with soft light from the crystals, and the hum of energy was steady. They were surrounded by the technology and stories of a people long gone, yet very much alive in this place. Rin's mind raced with questions. How had Ona's people survived so long? How had they hidden their secrets so well? And what was the meaning of the child growing between them? He could feel the bond in every part of his body, now stronger, deeper, and filled with new energy. Ona watched Rin carefully. Her large eyes showed both hope and worry. She reached out to touch his arm gently, sharing a calm warmth that eased his racing thoughts. Together, they walked deeper into the vault, searching for answers. The path led to a vast hall lined with symbols and images. The walls told the story of Ona's ancestors, explorers, scientists, and warriors who had faced many dangers to protect their home. The images showed bright cities in the sky, peaceful gatherings, and moments of joy. But the story was not just of peace. The final images showed darkness and fear. A shadow fell across the civilization. An enemy had come from beyond the stars, machines corrupted by a virus that turned protectors into destroyers. Ona's voice was soft as she told Rin about the great war that followed. Her people fought bravely but were forced to hide. They sealed their knowledge in vaults like this one, hoping that someday someone would find it and continue their work. Rin felt a chill run down his spine. The past was heavy, but it was also a warning. The threat was not gone. It was waiting, hidden in the darkness of space. As they explored, Rin found a small device tucked in a corner. It looked old but still worked. When he activated it, a hologram appeared, a recording of a leader from Ona's people. The figure spoke in a calm voice, explaining the purpose of the vault and the importance of the bond. The leader's words were clear. The bond was not just a connection between two individuals. It was a key to unlocking the full power of the vault. Together, bonded beings could awaken the ancient technology and protect the galaxy from the returning threat. Rin looked at Ona with new understanding. Their bond was more than fate. It was a responsibility. The child growing inside Ona was a symbol of hope, the future of both their worlds. Suddenly, the vault trembled. An alarm sounded, echoing through the halls. The machines outside were coming closer. The shadows of the past were no longer just memories. They were real and dangerous. Rin and Ona moved quickly to the control room. Ona's hands glowed with energy as she activated the vault's defenses. Walls shifted, barriers rose, and old weapons powered up. The place came alive, ready for battle. Rin prepared his suit and checked his weapons. He felt the crystal's energy coursing through him, making him faster and stronger. He was ready to fight, but more than that, he was ready to protect Ona and their future. The machines burst into the vault, heavy and relentless. Their red eyes shone with cold hatred. They advanced like shadows of the past, but Rin and Ona stood firm. The fight was fierce. Rin used every skill he had learned. Ona's light wrapped around the machines, disabling them one by one. Together, they moved like one, their bond guiding their actions. At one point, a machine reached for Ona. Rin threw himself between them, blocking the attack. He felt a sharp pain but pushed through it. Ona's light flared, and the machine fell. The battle lasted long, but slowly, Rin and Ona gained the upper hand. The machines retreated, their numbers broken. The vault was safe for now. Breathing heavily, Rin looked at Ona. She smiled, tired but strong. They had faced the shadows of the past and survived. But they both knew this was only the beginning. Ona placed her hand on Rin's chest, feeling the bond pulse between them. She whispered a word Rin did not understand, but the meaning was clear. Together, they were stronger. Outside, the stars shone bright. The red planet lay quiet beneath the night sky. Rin and Ona stood side by side, ready to face whatever came next. The simple scan that had brought Rin to this place had grown into a story of courage, hope, and love. Their bond was a light in the darkness, a promise that the future could be different. And in the quiet vault, a new chapter was beginning. The dawn on the red planet was calm and quiet. The first light stretched across the dusty horizon, softening the jagged rocks and casting long shadows over the vault. Rin and Ona stood outside the ancient entrance, their faces turned toward the rising sun. The air was cool, but the warmth between them was stronger than ever. The journey had been long and difficult. What had started as a simple scan had turned into a story far greater than Rin could have imagined. Together, they had unlocked the secrets of a lost civilization, fought machines from the past, and formed a bond that connected their souls. Now, the future was waiting. Inside the vault, the technology hummed with life. The crystals glowed gently, and the control panels shone with renewed energy. Rin and Ona had managed to awaken the power hidden for centuries. This power was more than machines and light. It was hope, a chance to build something new. Ona's hand rested on her stomach, where the child grew silently. Rin looked at her, his heart full of love and promise. The bond between them had created something special, a new life, a symbol of unity between two worlds. "We must protect this future," Ona said softly. Her voice was calm but filled with strength. Rin nodded. He knew that their child was more than a gift. The child was a bridge between Earth and Ona's people. A symbol of peace and understanding. As they prepared to leave the vault, a soft light appeared from the crystals. Images floated in the air, maps of stars, messages from the past, and warnings about the dangers still waiting in space. Rin studied the images carefully. He saw paths to other planets, places where allies might be found. He saw signals from other survivors, beings who had escaped the war and still hoped for peace. Ona reached out and touched one of the glowing maps. She projected a path to a distant system, a place where help might be waiting. Rin felt a spark of hope. Their journey was not over, but it had taken a new direction. Together, they stepped outside the vault and looked up at the sky. The stars were bright and clear, full of promise. Rin felt the bond pulse between him and Ona, steady and strong. Suddenly, the ship they had seen before appeared above the planet. But this time, it did not bring danger. Instead, a message came through the comms. It was a call for peace. The voice was unfamiliar but kind. It spoke of a desire to join forces, to protect what remained of life in the galaxy. Rin and Ona exchanged a look of relief. Their bond had not only awakened the vault but also sent a signal across the stars. The promise of new allies was real. They prepared to leave the planet, knowing the journey ahead would be long. But they were no longer alone. Their bond was a light in the darkness, guiding them toward a future filled with hope. Before boarding their ship, Ona looked at Rin and smiled. "Together," she said simply. Rin smiled back, his heart full. "Together," he repeated. As they lifted off, the red planet grew smaller beneath them. The vault's light stayed behind, a beacon for those who would follow. The child inside Ona moved gently, a quiet reminder of the new beginning they carried with them. It was more than a child. It was a promise that life, love, and hope could grow even in the darkest places. Rin and Ona looked out at the stars, ready to face the unknown. The bond they shared was strong, unbreakable. It was the start of a new story, one where two worlds could come together, united by courage and love. The scan that had brought Rin here was only the beginning. The future was theirs to shape. And with Ona by his side, Rin knew that anything was possible. The stars waited. So did the galaxy. And the story had just begun.